All right, guys, let's jump right into this one. Everybody tells you to sort of speak your truth, be authentic and say what you feel. Cool, I'm on board with that. I am a free speech advocate. But here's the part that nobody tells you, or maybe the part that more likely many people don't want to hear. Because yes, you can speak your mind. Yes, you should have beliefs, and these should be deeply held beliefs. And you should have opinions, and these can be strong opinions. But the second you open your mouth, you have to accept the consequences that come with that. And that's the problem with today. Most people, they want the freedom, but they don't want the cost. They don't want those consequences. What that is, guys, is delusion. All right, so here's the part that, as I said, nobody really wants to say out loud. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Basically, in a nutshell, what it means is, the government can't really intervene, come in and arrest you and sort of take your rights away. You can sort of say what you want. Now, we can sit here and argue that all day, but the basic understanding of the Constitution is say what you want, the government won't intervene. That doesn't mean there's not consequences and that other people won't intervene. There are certain words, and I think we know these words, guys. If you went to, another group of people and you use these words, there will be consequences. Strong consequences. I think you guys know what I'm getting at. Your words carry weight. Understand that. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you can say what you want. It never has, and it never will. You can say what you want, but be prepared for the fallout. You're not entitled to any type of approval to what you say. There's no sort of comfort nest in what you say, and you are not entitled to being liked. In fact, most of the comments that I've made or, opinions that I've dropped that have carried the most weight seem to strike a chord with the audience. And a saying that I'm borrowing from somebody else that is not my own, is you generally, you're only going to catch flack when you're over the target, which is very true. When you say something that has impact or causes people to think or reflect or just get emotional, you're probably close to being on base. Speech is power, guys, and that power always has a price. And if you don't understand that, you're not brave for speaking. You're sort of just throwing out your opinions. You're reckless. There's a big difference there. All right, guys, the problem here is, right now, as so many people talk about authenticity, and very few people are. I myself sort of fell into this when I sort of got into the online space. You got to separate sort of the person and the persona. Or ideally, you just be, what I said earlier, authentic. You be the same person you are online as you are offline. You may not be exactly the same, but I think we need to strive toward that. You see so many of these people playing these characters or archetypes, and I won't mention any names. There's a million of them, and there's a million more coming into them. We live at a time when people confuse honesty with impulse. They say, and here's the thing is, my grandfathers used to tell me this, think before you speak. My old man used to tell me that. But now it's the other way around. People speak, and then maybe they think. They probably don't, but they'll just say whatever pops in their head because they can say anything. They can say their truth. And then they're shocked when they lose friends, they lose opportunities, jobs, they get pushback, they get a label stuck on them. It could be a racist, misogynist, homophobe, whatever it is, whatever label that you don't want, you say something stupid, you're going to get stuck with that label. Fair or unfair, guys. Remember, when you say something, be prepared for the consequences. Or you just sort of get kicked off the island, kicked out of the tribe. You're excluded. And again, you guys, you have to be prepared for that. When you throw your opinions out there, especially now, as polarized as the United States is, especially between, the right and the left in politics, the genders, my God, I can't recall a time when there's been more sort of polarization and division, even between the sexes. And again, those sort of fall along the political lines, but that's, again, a debate for another day. So what happens with many people when they say these things and they didn't realize there was consequences, then they fall back on shit. They're like, oh, that's cancel culture. Well, no. If you said something that went against your company's sort of, business statement or their morals and their ethics, be prepared to lose your job. That's not cancel culture, guys. or everybody's sensitive. Well, guys, we are in a sort of an HR society. You can call it woke. You can call it whatever label you want on it. But you know this. So prepared to, accept what happens when you say things that ruffle some feathers. And that's, and then I'm being silenced. Well, some people are going to try and silence you. How strong are your convictions? Did you just say that shit to get a rise out of people, or you truly mean it? All right? You spoke. The world responded. Accept the consequences. And it's not oppression, guys. That's just the reality of the situation. Yeah, some of it, again, probably doesn't seem fair. I can't say whatever I want here on YouTube. I can't say whatever I want on Instagram or any social media. These are privately held sites. There is sort of censorship to that. I could say whatever I want here on YouTube, but if I wanted to monetize my videos, they have the right to, strike that and, take the monetization away. Again, consequences, guys. If you're noticing a pattern here about me using the word consequences, stay tuned. All right, here's the mature way, guys, the adult way to look at it. I know that could be also anathema to many people. As I said, you are free to speak. Others are free to respond. You don't control either outcome, guys. When you post something, when you hit that enter, that send, that upload, whatever it is, doesn't really matter, there are going to be consequences. And there are people just waiting. Their whole day is sitting where I'm sitting or holding their phone and just causing shit, stirring the shit up. You have to realize that, guys. And again, the real strength isn't just blurting shit out. It's owning what comes next. That's the real strength. Can you own it? Do you stand in your convictions? Do you, can you back up what you said? Do you have the receipts? That's a kind of a popular lexicon. If you believe something, deeply enough to just say it out loud and to vocalize it, you better believe, you better have the same strength of character to take the, stand in the fire. You got to be there, stand in the fire and back up your belief. That's the trade-off, guys. All right, let's talk about sort of strategy versus cowardice here. Let me be clear. I don't want you to be mum. I don't need you to be muffled and shut up. And I don't need you to play small. But I don't need you also, I don't want you to be fake. You need to be, as we said earlier, be authentic. Be authentically authentic. Catch what I'm saying there? So it is, you have to have a strategy. There's a difference between speaking your mind with an intention. My intention for the most part is not to sort of give you, saying that I am right or wrong. My intention in most of the time is to make people think, to get people talking about these issues, whether it's with themselves, when they look in the mirror or sit in their bed at night, or among their friends, among other people at the water cooler. Whatever it is, I want people to think. And then there's running your mouth. These are two different things. You just say shit, and then, you light the fuse, you run away. You throw the gas on the fire, and you run away. You know damn well and good what you did and why you did it. Those are two totally different things, guys. Don't be the second one. Again, one is sort of strength. The other one is your ego, and you're looking for validation. So ask yourself these things before you open your pie hole. Is it worth the cost? That could be money. Like I said, if you're sort of a YouTuber or your job depends on it, are you willing to put your money, literally put your money where your mouth is? The saying couldn't apply anywhere better than that. Am I willing to lose something for this? Friends, loved ones, your wife, girlfriend? Are your convictions that strong? Again, before you say it, guys, think. Think before you hit send. Yeah, I know I'll still probably say some dumb shit, and I put posts out that I'm like, not sure I should have put that out. But I'll stand by it. I said it. You know what? I probably said it for some sort of reason. But think, guys, think. And am I prepared to stand alone if necessary? And this is where this is a big no for most people. Most people are falling to that groupthink. They want to be, another sheep parroting the same shit, forwarding somebody else's beliefs, saying what somebody else said so they can be part of the tribe. whether it's politics or the left or the right. You see these people parroting this stuff. They have no original thoughts of their own. They're literally just bobblehead fools. Again, if the answer is no and you don't speak, not speaking is not a weakness. If you do have a deeply held belief, you should say it. But sometimes prudence and shutting your big mouth is probably the better idea. Again, think about that, guys. And not saying something sometimes is discipline. All right, so who actually wins here? The men who command this respect understand certain things here. They generally speak less but mean more. Look at so the people, the men who command presence, whether it be in a sort of boardroom, could be even the bedroom, guys, but guys that they're not running their mouth the whole time, but their words carry weight. When they talk, people listen because they know that what's coming out of that person's mouth has some conviction behind it. They don't chase validation. They're not posting for likes or sort of, virality. Anybody can do that. I can grab my Instagram account and I can, I've got a very modest following there. I can increase that by just saying stupid shit. Easy enough. You see people do it every day. That's not my intent. I'd rather have a small group of, sort of free thinkers and people that are loyal to, the ideas that I sort of present and, thinking, growing, becoming better. I don't want, like I said, I don't want bobblehead sycophants. I want people who think. And they don't, when somebody says something, they feel the need to explain it endlessly. They say it, here it is, they, take it or leave it. Here's what I said. And they don't cry when there's resistance, when there's pushback. Again, when you say things, guys, that carry weight, there's probably going to be some pushback. They don't cry. These people, they accept that there will be consequences and they accept them on the front end. Because of that, when they do speak, people tend to listen. All right, guys, hard truths here. If you're constantly shocked by how people react to you, if you're always sort of the victim, and if everybody is misunderstanding you, it's not them. There's an old truck driver I used to work with, Walter from Georgia, used to say, not everybody can be wrong. And there's truth to that, guys. When everybody's telling you the same shit, it's probably not them. You need to look in the mirror. It's your lack of awareness. And again, power isn't just speaking freely, just running your mouth, like a fucking wind-up doll. No. Power is choosing when, how, and why to speak. Think. Ask yourself those questions. Should I speak now? How do I say this? And why am I saying this? Critically, guys. And again, accept whatever follows without any complaints, whining, crying, or bitching. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. So yes, by all means, speak your mind. I love it. I want to hear that. Drop the comments. I want you to speak your mind. But, and hold true to your belief and have your opinions. Just don't whine about the consequences. Or if you ask a hard question that you probably already know the answer to, but the answer doesn't feel good, be prepared for that. One of the things now, guys, is somebody be like, well, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. That drives me insane. The words are the words. Be prepared for that, guys, okay? I won't dig too deep in that. Remember, it's not feels before reals, okay? Freedom isn't comfort, guys. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with that freedom. And what most people don't want is freedom. They simply want applause. All right, guys, if this one hit, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, and say what you mean. Drop in the comments below and be a man enough to, carry the weight of what you said. All right, guys, appreciate you. See you in the next one.